Hi there, and welcome to class number 3 in the Parent Chat Co-Parenting course. This class is all about diffusing conflict and it's learning new ways to effectively communicate as co-parents by recognizing trigger points, emotional motivations, and personal barriers in an effort to experience healthy interactions. So I kind of touched on this a little bit in the other classes. Um, but this class is going to kind of dive a little bit more deeply into into the topic. Okay, so diffusing conflict. So if you in any situation where you are experiencing some type of conflict with your co-parenting partner, what's going to happen over time is that you're going to be able to recognize patterns, okay, in the way that they choose to react and communicate with you. And when you start to recognize different patterns, you will then also recognize what their trigger points are. And if you know what their trigger points are, that is going to lead to a heavy argument or a big disagreement or them, and exploding on you, right? Then you can control the situation and diffuse the conflict before it actually happens, because you're going to understand and be aware of what triggers them, and then don't trigger them. So this is really a level of emotional intelligence that is a skill set that needs to be learned here, and you can use this as a tool. Okay. For people who have emotional intelligence, first of all, emotional intelligence is if you have emotional intelligence, you are able to evaluate any situation and react to it in a way that calms the whole situation down. Okay. The goal for people who have emotional intelligence is not to be right, because being right and arguing your point of view is not important to them. What is important to them is the outcome of the conversation or the outcome of the situation. Okay, so I can give you a couple of examples of how I've used emotional intelligence in different situations so that you can kind of understand what I'm actually talking about. Okay, so I was in a store and I was purchasing some items, and this person came up. He was next, and he had a gift card. And I could tell by looking at him, he was probably a homeless person, right? Just based on the clothes that he was wearing and how he looked, right? He didn't look cared for, probably didn't have a bath in a while. Well, he had a gift card, right? And he had a bottle of soda that he opened and he was drinking it. And he was waiting for his turn at the cash register. So I paid for my item, and then he was next, and I was putting things back in my wallet, so I didn't leave the counter yet. And it was a manager that was actually ringing this person up, and he gave him the gift card, and the gift card didn't have enough money to cover the purchase of the soda. And so I was watching this interaction because I wanted to know what the manager was going to do and how he was going to handle the situation, right? So I stood there and I was watching, and the manager became very angry, and he was just yelling at that guy, saying, well, your gift card doesn't have enough. And then the homeless person said, well, I already opened the bottle. And so the manager said, well, I don't know what you're going to do, because you still have to pay the difference for the soda. And we're only talking about maybe a little over $1. And so I stood there and I watched the situation, and the manager just kept getting more angry. And I just thought to myself, I could imagine how badly this homeless person feels right now and how stressed he is feeling, because there's no way that he's going to be able to create a dollar bill or whatever it was, $1.something out of thin air to get this manager to stop yelling at him. And he couldn't walk out, you know, because the soda was not totally paid for. He drank almost half of it, so he didn't want to be in a position where that's probably going to be considered stealing. So he didn't want him to call the cops and say he drank half the soda, he didn't have enough on his gift card to pay for it, and so therefore that's stealing. So I stepped in and I said, "Excuse me, sir," to the manager, and I said, I would pay the difference for what he needs for his soda. And the manager said, "Oh, you will?" I said, "Yeah, yes, I will." So I paid for it. And then the guy, of course, said, "Thank you so much." I said, "No, it's okay." I said, "You know, I just don't think that he should have been that mean to you. I mean, whatever your situation, your circumstance is, it is what it is, but I'm sorry for your experience, and I'm sorry that, you know, you needed to go through that." So I shared this situation with, when I was teaching my main business, which is Teen-Wise, the books that you see up there, in a high school class. And I told them, now, I want you to evaluate the situation, and I want you to tell me why I did that. And of course, they didn't quite understand what I meant. Well, the moral of the story is that I decided to diffuse the situation, diffuse the conflict, because it didn't matter who was right or wrong. What mattered in that situation is that the homeless person is feeling very, very stressed, and the manager is not budging at all, okay, for whatever his reasons were at the time, right? But here I am, just an innocent customer right next to it, witnessing everything, and I can create a solution right here, and it's only going to cost me a little over $1, and everybody can just go back to living their lives, right? So that's kind of what I mean by having emotional intelligence, by being able to evaluate situations and then coming up with a solution that is best for everybody, calms the situation down, and you don't have to be right, okay? Because technically the manager was right. He didn't have enough money, and he shouldn't have opened the can of soda, right? But it wasn't getting anywhere. So when you're co-parenting and you are starting to learn, you're starting to relearn your ex-spouse as a co-parenting partner now, you're going to start to learn their trigger points. And if you understand their trigger points, then you understand what not to do. Now, it's not all on you, okay? It's on the other person as well. I understand you're thinking, well, why do I have to be the bigger person and, you know, have all this emotional intelligence, and why do I need to do all this stuff when they're the ones who's doing all this? Because what you want to do is diffuse the situation. Learn this tool so you can diffuse the situation, because even though you may be right in a situation or maybe innocent in whatever the interaction is, you have an important role here, and you have the power within yourself to diffuse the situation and make it go away and make it better. And then you're not in that negative energy either. You don't have to feel, you know, a certain way about yourself or the situation, or react or anything like that. It just helps an all-around situation when you learn how to just take a step back and maybe not react if your co-parenting partner is saying something very, very negatively about you, or attacking you on, you know, on your parenting skills or a decision that you made or whatever it was, right? I'm only talking about things that have to do with parenting and your child, okay? Everything else is off limits. They really shouldn't be communicating with you on what you're doing in your personal life, because that's no longer any of their business, right? And you can tell them I said that if you want to. So what I'm really talking about is when you're in the parenting role and you're dealing with situations like that. Okay, with that being said, when you're understanding this, then you will then come to terms with what emotional motivations you may or may not have, right? Because you're going to understand, well, Yeah, I understand. Okay, well, I'm not going to be attached to this emotion anymore. Whatever the emotion is, it could be hurt, anger, resentment. It could still be love. It could be, hope, right? You're hanging on to some type of hope here. All of that. If you release all that and you deal with the here and now and what it really is, the reality of what the situation is right now, and then learn how to use the tools that I'm teaching you in this course, how to adjust your reactions and communication and how you speak verbally to this person. You're gonna diffuse different situations, and not only that, you're gonna prevent new situations from arising because you're already not going to be the person that's going to react back. So a lot of times when people say things and do things, sometimes they just want to feel better about themselves, so they put other people down. But if you're not giving them the payoff, then they give up over time because they're not getting what they need out of that. And you're growing and becoming a better, stronger person, right? So you're not allowing that to affect you. And actually what you're doing is you're using emotional intelligence, and they probably don't even know it, right? And so your personal barriers, in an effort to experience healthy interactions. So your personal barriers would be: understand what your underlying motivations are, if any. Do you still have hidden agendas? Do you still have hope in your mind to be with this person? Or when you talk to them on the phone, do you still have that butterfly feeling, right? Do you get excited? Is the love still so strong there that you still can't release it from yourself and from your memories and all the other stuff? Those would be personal barriers that could affect the way that you communicate, right? Because you don't want to be someone who becomes another person's doormat because you still love them, right? So they're going to say and do whatever they want to say, and you're just going to accept everything because you still love them, and you kind of hope that you still want to be with them. Well, that's not a good approach, right? Because you're just allowing someone to have power over you. And that is not diffusing a situation, by the way. Okay? Diffusing a situation is providing a response in a manner that it doesn't escalate the outcome of the conversation. Doesn't increase any anger or any violence that could occur. Okay, that's what diffusing the situation is. Diffusing the situation is not simply agreeing to everything this person is saying to you. That is not diffusing the situation. Okay, you are not a doormat. You do not need to agree to things that you do not agree with. But you can effectively communicate with this person, and you're never going to eliminate conflict with a co-parent. Okay, you're always going to have some level somewhere, whether it be this much or this much. But it's how you deal with that conflict and how you learn different tools, how to exercise that emotional intelligence. You can also look that up, and they'll have more concrete definitions for you and examples, and start using that, because it's very, very powerful. And not only that, when you walk away from diffusing a situation, most times the situation has been done and handled, and a solution has been created and implemented. So when you walk away from that, you don't have to hold anything, right? But if you're in a situation where there's a lot of conflict and a lot of back and forth arguing and unhealthy verbal abuse going on, an unhealthy verbal abuse exchange between the two people, and then usually somebody hangs up, right? That's anger, right? They're just hanging up on you. And then when you walk away from that, it's not done, right? Because the situation did not get resolved. All that happened was this person is yelling and accusing me of this and calling me names, and then this person is reacting to that, and then this person gets more mad, and then back, and then it's going to come to a point where one person says, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, and hangs up the phone. Or if they're in front of you, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, and I'm going to leave, and they leave, right? But the situation and the conflict is still there, and when the both people walk away from it, they're feeling stressed, angry, maybe have anxiety over it, right? That's not the way to handle the situation. So learning how to diffuse conflict with emotional intelligence is the right way to handle actually any situation. But so that is class number 6, diffusing conflict. And if you printed out the PDF of the workbook, go ahead and fill out the information for class number 6, and don't forget the little mini quiz on the bottom, because it helps you stay on track with the different tools that I've taught you here, and hopefully provides a way for you to learn how to listen effectively, so that you can actually use these tools with the situation that you're currently in. So thanks for being here, and I hope I see you in class number 7. Thank you. Bye-bye now.